Good morning and welcome to, well, let's get this up. But today's live show, we do have a daily chart that is curled up in negative territory, telling us, hey, this might be a contrarian indication that we could see some upside. But if we start to curl down in these areas, that's where bigger drops can happen. So we are aware that down in these areas is a place to be paying attention to on the bigger time frames. The 2 hour chart, as of right now, has not been able to curl up. So we need to see if that can curl up for this to be some kind of higher low. Then we have to see if we can hold above that bear level. So what is going to hint us whether or not today we are able to curl up the 2 hour chart? Well, that is simply going to be the 30-minute chart, right? We do have a look from the 30-minute. We do have these daily expected moves. You can see the daily expected moves in the bottom right corner. And thank you so much for liking as you come in. But this here, we need to understand that this could be a reversal signal right here. Now, we are paying attention to if this would fail, that means that probably no 30-minute divergence will pop up here, or that 30-minute divergence might pop up and fail to go down to lower levels. So we will be watching out for some things, right? There's plenty of ways for this thing to actually be able to resolve itself. It can take a long time. So we're going to take it day by day. And right now, for today, we need to be paying attention if a 30-minute divergence pops up here so that we can tell if that 2 hour has a good chance to curl to the upside. So right now we're paying attention to the daily expected moves 516.78. Once again, 536.04 to the upside for your daily expected moves. And we've seen some crazy stuff. So just be aware that there is still extreme volatility. Volatility as of right now up 8.53%. Remember, if there's going to be some kind of crash, well, then this thing will curl up into positive territory on the daily scale. So we can watch for that, right? That would be the warning sign. And then we'll have to see if that's able to subside after that. For the time being, for the Qs, you're looking at a similar situation. The reason that I really like today's daily expected move, the reason I would really like to see that divergence today is because the Qs would come outside of that monthly expected move for a brief moment. We see it heading to the downside right now. We'll find out if a 30-minute divergence can pop up here, because if the 2 hour is able to curl up, the Qs look pretty good to actually go to the upside. Now, we still have to hold those bear levels after that. But for the time being, we can just pay attention and be like, okay, if this kind of thing shows up, then that 2 hour could start to go that other direction, upward, upward, upward. We'll see what happens with that. But for now, you do have for the Qs 453.65 to the upside, 434.55 to the downside. And we do have those moves in the bottom right corner. So even if we're not clicking over to the Qs because they look so similar, we might just watch the SPY as it is below that monthly expected move. And we don't have a ton of time left to get back in that move, so it's almost go time. We do have a bunch of earnings and things like that coming up. You know me, during earnings, usually I'm just a 50-50 flip kind of guy. I might end up keeping some longs on for earnings as well, though. Usually I don't like to play it too much, but hey, it's kind of fun this time around. Pretty volatile markets. Thank you guys for coming in today. Hey, thank you, Rajiv, Jonna, Connie, Double Dark in here. Todd, just finishing up that pre-market, huh? And Rajiv. Finish is the right description. Come on, baby, come on. I did potentially see some escalation from China again or something like that. I don't know. It says investors are pouring into European equity funds, fleeing the U.S. on tariff woes. Oh, wow. Gosh, he is just a sniff of good news away from some kind of market pop here. People are really pent up in these areas. So for today, I think we're going to mainly be chill early on, right? We don't need to be clicking around doing a bunch of crazy things. We can see that some things are going down to lower levels. We can pay attention if they make 30-minute divergence or if they confirm divergence down at lower levels. As of right now, we would see maybe a 30-minute divergence in these areas. We'll pay attention, but if that divergence doesn't confirm, then we might be heading to the downside for a lot of these stocks. Remember that semiconductors were what I saw, and a few others, right? Maybe like a Microsoft could go a little lower, or Google or something like that. But for the most part, it seems like semiconductors would be the ones to kind of poop the bed a little bit, right? Because they have further downside. They have these gaps down here. AMD, we see that it could go all the way down to this gap down here. So we're just going to watch. We're going to wait and be patient. That's a very, very good thing for today. But understand that as of right now, this could still be a higher low. If we see the daily curl down, that's when it gets more risky. Thank you guys for being here this morning. I hope you guys had a wonderful Easter. Hopefully you guys were able to eat a bunch of good food, maybe speak with God a little bit about your trades, and hang out with family, right? Spend some time with family. That's a big deal. So for the time being, we can just maybe take yesterday into consideration and say, hey, maybe I need to do something a little better here. And maybe being better today means being a little bit patient, for these type of moves. Alrighty. Good stuff. But we're going to take today nice and easy, be looking at 30-minute chart here and just seeing what happens in the morning, okay? I do have some other stuff that I have to get to for a moment, so I might be silent for just a little bit. But thank you guys for coming in and saying hey in the chat, all right? One moment. There we go. All right, we're good to go. And I wonder how much time we're going to take down here. All right, let's see here. Not bad. You look so cute, bunny ears. You guys should see my outfit yesterday. I put on a full, like, pretty much bunny suit yesterday. The Pope is gone. Unfortunate. Happy to be back. Nazim, thank you for sending me that over the weekend. I didn't get a good chance to like sit down and look at it for an extended period of time, Nazim, but I am going to check it out a little bit more throughout the week, okay? But I appreciate it. Nazim's been working on something in the background that's pretty cool when it comes to weekly ranges and stuff like that. He's trying to do some Pine script to tie in, an Excel spreadsheet that can automatically kind of update once you calculate. And I think that's the overall thing there. And I was like, damn, that's really, really cool. My mother-in-law was super excited. My daughter was not that excited to see me dressed as a bunny. She didn't get it, but my mother-in-law thought that it was hilarious. And I was like, hey, all right, cool. Maybe next year my daughter will actually react. But I kind of was just sweating in a onesie for like no reason. Yeah, Nazim, I'll give it a look. But welcome back, man. Thanks for coming in and saying hey. You picked probably a good time to take a break, though, from the market, right? You just stay away from all the craziness and then see a daily divergence and be like, all right, cool, I'll take that. Where's Willow? I want my dollar. He didn't keep it completely shut all weekend. I'll tell you something that I thought was an interesting comment by Mr. DJT himself. Okay, here. Since our announcement of Liberation Day, many world leaders and business executives have come to me asking for relief from tariffs. It's good to see that the world knows we are serious because we are. They must right the wrongs of decades of abuse, but it won't be easy for them. We must rebuild the wealth of our great country and create true reciprocity. But for those who want the easiest path, come to America and build in America. Okay, so he's encouraging more people to just come to. It sounds like a Trump thing, right? It sounds like a a very blunt Trump kind of comment. But at the same time, the message is still the same. All these countries do respect the fact that, as a consumer base, America is like a very important place for them. So at least they're coming to the table. News, deals, negotiations, they take time. So the longer time we take, hey, the more signals we can make. Let's go for it. We just got to make sure that in that time where we know that it could be an extended amount of negotiation, we are able to react in case something goes wrong. That way time doesn't get against us, right? If we're taking those positions a month out, but this takes another 2 weeks down here to resolve, we might want to be looking for those pops to potentially sell out of those if they curl back down, right? Doing those type of decisions, that way you can reposition, right? I've been talking a lot about how I've been repositioning, especially with a few over the last week, and we were able to reposition those and then extend them out, right? And that's because we were able to see these upside moves that curl down and down and down. If we see these curl down and down and down, that would be a decision to make as well. IWM I thought was interesting here because really, these are 1% moves, but they're not necessarily. Now, IWM, I think, has the structure, right? I think IWM has the structure to actually head down a little bit better than other indices because you have like stuff going on like this, right? You could say, oh, here's your little floor. All right, this is going to be a move up, and then we're going to drop down, and that could get to lower levels. But for IWM, I just thought that was going to be super interesting to see. It looks like one of the indices that's more so showing like this could be a little bit worse, but it is holding up better, right? We have to admit that IWM is holding up better. And this is just a small lip, so I would be very surprised if this small lip is able to just go bam. But just because it would maybe surprise me a little doesn't mean I'm not aware of it, right? I'm aware of things being able to go down to here, and that's the important part. And you should be too, right? We're aware that this is definitely still possible, but we're aware of the type of reactions to make down in these areas as well. But we're not even down there yet. All we are is within the daily expected moves. So I think we need to just be patient, see if things can come to that downside, see if they can curl back up. That'd be great. Do we go up? Do we go down? Do we cha-cha-cha? Kind of facts, all right? Kind of facts. It's kind of just like once we get a little bit of good news, we get some bad news from China. Once we get a little bit of retaliation from China, we get some positive from Trump. So, well, let's just be patient, wait for our times, right? If you're patient throughout this whole thing, you didn't have to trade. Or, the last time we truly saw good signals was, potentially here. That's one trade. And potentially here. That would be two trades. Then you go, okay, this one made great money. This one's probably still making okay money. But if I see a divergence, you know what really convinced me to get out? We talk about this kind of in the course too, by the way. So people ask me like when I take profit or when I stop holding on to my longs. A lot of the time, it's if I see a reversal signal that goes against my trade, right? So if I have a, say, short position that I got in here, I manage the trade on the 15-minute. I'm treating this like we're going through my actual strategy that we talk about in the course, which we're going to include the management of the trade part. So it'd be take the trade, right? Oh, this curls up. Okay, manage the trade in case we see something crazy. It confirms back down. I believe it was right in here. And so 539.20 is where you would potentially put that position back on. And then once you go down, you go, okay, nothing's curled up, okay. And then we're down to these levels, and you see that we are still overall negative. And then at the end of the day, you saw us use that monthly expected move as resistance. So none of this in here really tells me like, oh, take off my short position. I can if the money is good, right? If profit's good. But something that I like to do is also just let that thing go down for the second push, right? Get at least that 1, 2, 3, and then see if that divergence pops up. And then once I see that divergence popping up, maybe even confirmed, I would potentially be taking profit here. What you'll notice over time here, maybe that wasn't the best decision. Maybe the better decision was to sell down in this area. But overall, I don't know if this is going to go bam. I don't know if this divergence is going to pop up, right? This could be no divergence today, and this could shoot down and be some kind of ABC, right? This could be some kind of move like this, straight down to the weekly expected move. So just in case that is going to be a good amount of profit, I'm going to wait to see the reversal signal confirm. I would be selling at this point. It might be worth less than at that point because of time, but for the most part, I don't know if this is going to create a divergence. I'm just aware of it, and this would cause me to react. And guess what? If it didn't do that and we went all the way down to that weekly expected move, that's my next place to take profit. So these are my two. If I was short, I'm not short right now, just so you're aware. I'm just discussing this to help people out who might have that position, to help you understand how I look at it, how I like to see it, right? I like to convince myself to sell a lot of the time. So I would give myself, in this case, two reasons or two scenarios. And the first scenario would be if I see a reversal signal on the 30-minute, well, that means the 2-hour can go like this. Is that going to be good for my shorts? No. But if we go down to this line, maybe that's all the profit I want to make, right? That's a decision as well. Maybe that's all I want to make out of this. I don't want to play around with anything. I'm going to use the daily expected move to take profit, okay? But this other scenario is I don't know if this divergence will come. I have no idea. I'm not a magician. I'm not a mind reader, right? So if this just turns down and then never turns back up, well, then I have my profit-taking level at the weekly expected move. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It's kind of a decent amount to go through right away. $518 breakup. I was looking at 517. I was weirdly enough, I was looking at 517 in the daily expected move. The reason I was looking at 517 was the call wall, or the put wall, sorry. 517 is a small put wall. You have very small put walls until you get to 500. And that's why I would really be like, okay, if I'm short, I'm not necessarily just saying, oh, I'm going to take Maybe it's not take all profit here, right? Maybe it's take some, take most, and then see if the rest of that can get down to there. There's little decisions like that all the time. I just wanted to discuss some decision making type of thinking this morning because we did talk about that over the weekend, how right now, especially during Easter, is a great time for reflection and look at what you're doing right, look at what you're doing wrong, and then try to be better. And so going through these type of scenarios, I think can be very good for people. Hopefully it is. In all seriousness, it's time to do some daily yoga. Yeah, you need some chi in your life. But the massive terrorists take advantage of America, or did American businesses exploit these for their peasant wages? There's two things. CS. The truth of the matter is American politicians and American greedy business owner, the big corporations, the billionaires that, you know, apparently, the left always wants to destroy, right? They're like, we always want to tax them more. We want to tax them more. We want to do this. We want to do that. Then why do they always vote Democrat? It's very weird, or it just never happens. But the truth of the matter is, politicians back in the day, and still to today, sold out the American worker, and the business owners sold out the American worker. The business owners, in turn, got profits, right? They got bigger margins from using other countries' labor. And you would say that's an exploitation, right? You're saying they're exploiting the lower labor. That's actually not the case a lot of the time. We don't know for sure, but I would argue that, say, a Chinese person's life was probably worse before they had the manufacturing, the small factory job. I would say that's very high probability. So weirdly enough, they use it, it's almost like they use a good thing to exploit our own people, and then over time it becomes a problem. If you would have done it for a shorter period of time, it probably wouldn't be that big of a problem. Right? If you would have done it for a shorter period of time, weaseled it in, brought it back a little bit, brought it to the center, to where it's not one pendulum all the way over here and everyone is making stuff over in these other countries and everyone is tariffing the United States exports. It's like, yeah, that would make more sense if we reined it in after a short period of time, right? Because we want to, potentially improve the whole world's life. But now that you've let it go for so long, and that's due to greed from politicians, greed from the big business owners, the big corporations and things like that utilize it, well, now you have a problem, which is your people, who end up being some of the biggest consumers in the world, your people are underwater. A lot of people underwater. I mean, just look at the average amount of debt we have as a country and then per person, and then look at the average amount of credit card debt each family has. So at the end of the day, it might have been good for all of those other countries. It was okay for us for a shorter period of time, but because it went on for so long, now it is definitely not okay. Now we are walking a tightrope, right? We are about to be in a scenario where every single household is defaulting on credit cards on average. Like if on average the answer is default, that is not good. That's how I think about it. But to say like, oh, they're exploiting, low wage worker, yes, but it might actually be good for like Chinese. It's not good over time for the United States. And we see that right now, right? That's how I view it. I'm not a genius. I'm not going to get it 100% right. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but hey, as long as I have a basic understanding of it, I think that's perfectly fine. Let's keep our shorts clean today. No pooping. No pooping. Hey, thank you guys for showing up this morning. We already came in today and we have 26 likes on the channel. Appreciate you guys being here today. I'm going to go make sure that the stream is not lagging behind. I did have to stream on YouTube in a slightly different way. So I want to make sure that everything is all right. I want to make sure that this is kind of up to par. Okay, good. There is almost no delay. Okay, perfect. I didn't want you guys to be behind. You can't blame the world overspending households. No, but it was the conditioning. The conditioning was spend, 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 and you wouldn't overspend if things weren't so cheap, right? I'm not blaming the world. Don't think I'm putting blame anywhere. If you literally just heard me talk and you think I'm blaming the world, then that is just the opposite of what I just did. I literally only blamed two categories: big, greedy rich people who put businesses everywhere and wanted to screw out the American worker, and then the politicians who continue to want to screw out the American worker. Those are the two people I blamed. Both of them are Americans. I literally did the opposite of what was just said in the chat. Oh, man. You can't blame the world when you didn't blame the world. You know who's part of the world too, though? America. So you're saying you can't blame America either. I'm saying you can. I'm saying you should blame some Americans. I just bought the course last week. Hey, thank you, June. Let me know how it goes for you, okay? Come in with any questions, any sections that you're having trouble with. If you are having trouble with, hopefully you're not. You've been here for a little bit. But thank you so much for getting that course. Let me know how it goes for you, okay? If there's any kind of questions you have, that's what the live show is really part of it is for. Yeah, Future House. I think we're more in line than you think. We might just, maybe I'm not communicating it the best. You know, that does happen online. You know, we don't communicate things the best exactly. But yeah, everyone that I just blamed in that scenario were American. But it leaked into probably other countries too, I'm sure. But we do have the 30-minute MACD curling down as of this moment. We are within the daily expected moves. This is expected for the day. That. The heck is going on? So we'll talk about AMC having trouble with AMC. What problems do you have with AMC? I blame Bush, sir. Well, you should blame almost every single president since 1971. The only ones that really tried to combat and do some type of tariff thing, wasn't it like Clinton? But either way, like I'm not a political person like at all. I just do what's best for my family, and I think the way that people should be is if you do what's best for your family, then it should be what's best for everyone's family in your mind, right? But I think it was Clinton did something with tariffs. Yeah, it's both sides too. Don't think I'm sitting here going, "Oh, it's one side or the other." No. But there's a big reason that a lot of these politicians have used to have the position of like, "Hey, these tariffs are terrible and we should switch them," to now they're like, "Why would we do this? This is terrible for the American." There's a reason for that. You can read between the lines and find the reason for that, and that's probably because they are one of the politicians who are part of the problem. But for the most part, we don't care. We just look at signals and we take things when things curl up. And look, good things happen, right? Good things happen. Sometimes they fail, but most of the time, bam, they're good to the upside. And that's why risk management is a good thing. If we just read into signals more or look for the correct things, like a 30-minute divergence today, hey, maybe we could catch a good trade up to 547.87. That'd be fantastic. Do you mind looking at Amazon? Yeah, let's go look at Amazon. Amazon clearly going down to lower levels, coming down to these lows. Very, very nice. I'm still interested in stuff if we're going to revisit these type of levels. But for the time being, I would say this is very good to take out, right? Sweep this and see what happens. But the 30-minute for the RSI getting a little drastic here, which means downside is probably still the answer for the time being. Very, very deep. You'd need that to like save today, like right now. You need that to go up right now. It's definitely possible. It's just, we don't see any inclination of that. The main signal to be paying attention to, though, is the 2-hour, right? We see that. What's the goal for Amazon? Well, it's to curl back up the daily chart. We potentially have daily divergence now. Just so you're aware, divergence, as far as it goes, click on your MACD, because notice that if you get the inputs here, the source is the close, right? The source is the close. So that tells us that this bar is actually here. This one's here, this one's here. Okay, so we know that this point is probably pretty damn important. Is that divergence if it would curl back up? Yes. So what are we looking for? We're looking for that 2-hour hint that says the 2 hours crossing up, which would like to potentially curl up the daily chart. So this could be pretty close to a bottom, but right now, is it a bottom? Is it proving to you, is the market, aka money moving around, is that proving to you that buys are coming in and saying that this is a bottom? No, this is curled down in negative territory. That means down, 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 down. And I know we probably are part of Patreon and we have some key levels and things like that. We have monthly expected moves that give us those percentages, but crazy things happen outside of here. So if I just am patient and I wait and I see this curl up like this, that could be the daily actually starting to curl up, and then we could take out this level. And then maybe Amazon ends up going to that 206, right? Now we will have to potentially get through earnings. Amazon does have earnings, I believe, on May 1st. Yeah, May 1st after hours. So this could take a lot of time, right? And earnings could be a bad thing, right? Forward guidance and things like that. So we'll be watching, but for the most part, this 2-hour divergence means a lot. So this means I can be patient and wait for that 2-hour divergence to confirm. If I decide to take something down in these areas, just know I am assuming more risk because this is not turned up. I am assuming the risk that this never turns up if I decide to buy it right now. It's not necessarily the worst look in the world. I see these type of things all the time, but I like to see them curl back up, and then that's when I apply more money, right? I more so do this when it's in an area where I go, okay, risk to reward is good. Say risk is small, but crazy things can happen, and then the reward is pretty big. If the reward's pretty big at this point, hey, that's fine for me to take that position, but do I want to bet the house? Do I want to assume? Do I want to put my whole house, and I use that as a big money amount, right? I just say, do I want to put a large money amount behind a risk to reward just using probabilities? Probably not. Now I can take a starter position that I'm willing to lose a little bit on, but for the time being, that would mean I need confirmation to actually apply a real amount of money, like a real good amount of money. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for Amazon, and I'm waiting for that for Meta. I think Meta is potentially going to confirm this divergence, maybe even sooner than you think. We'll find out. For the time being, not even curled down on the 30 minutes, so it's still bad. It's still bad to see it. Still bad to see a gap down and things like that, and we could still need to fool around down here for a while, right? Notice the double, okay? So we could still need to do something like that before it's able to curl fully up on the daily chart. But that's what you're looking for. And if we look at this, you're going to probably run into earnings again April 30th for Meta, right? So looking at the 30-minute, we need this to potentially reject now to be a good signal. And this is why we added the signal line down here on the RSI. I normally don't use the signal line too much. I've liked it now more and more and more, actually. So I'm keeping it up. For the time being, though, that would be, hey, if the RSI can get back above this 50 line, this center line right here, and we see this go boom, okay, that'd be a good potential confirmation for me, right? But these things are shaping up to simple things, right? If the 2-hour confirms, that's great. I have a trade. If the 2-hour does not confirm, if I don't want to assume that risk down here at all, well, then if the 2-hour does not confirm, then that probably means you're continuing to head down, and you would say, okay, awesome, there's not a trade to be had, right? I don't try to force things, right? I don't try to force and say, I have to make money, I have to make money. No, I look at the ones that are really interesting to me at the moment. I think the SPY is interesting on the 30-minute right now. If the 30-minute crosses down and we come down to these areas, and then by the end of the day, we are curling up, and then you see a buy come in, and this goes bink, bink, are you ready to react? What's your plan for that type of scenario? And that's the deal there, right? Do I have a plan for the scenarios that I'm looking for today? Well, as far as the weekly expected moves for Meta goes, if you go to that downside move, you're potentially wiping out divergence, right? We know that the Amazons and actually Amazon might be heading to it. Let me see. Amazon might head to it pretty quick. Meta, though, if you look at Meta, this would have to drop another, almost 20, 20 points or something? Yeah, this would potentially have to drop another like 20 or so points. That's a long way down. And that says, and the question would be, if we hit those levels, are we still potentially holding that divergence point on the RSI and the MACD? Well, it's so significant that you might be. You might be. You might not be, right? You might not be at that point. And so we'll be paying attention to if this 2 hour divergence just holds and then does it confirm? And then that's the actual trade setup. The actual trade setup is when things confirm. The actual confirmation of divergence is when things cross back up, when price action gets back above that 9 and crosses up on the MACD at the same time. Those are what we're really looking for. But to go down to, 20 points lower from here would not be a great look for Meta. And I would really be watching, hey, is that divergence holding at this point? Does that help out a little bit? Was it Future House? Sorry. Okay, good. Okay. Gold is going insane. And this is why I was like, I was potentially like, oh yeah, I'm going to do something with gold. And then I just go, man, I don't know if that's the best decision in the world. As far as it goes for GLD, you can see that we're heading directly into, I'm just going to let you know, this is a weekly expected move. This is all that's priced in from the options market with a 68% confidence. This is where you would see pullbacks or drops, right, to fill some gaps with potentially a 68% chance. You are actually way outside of your monthly expected move as well for GLD. So am I going to buy this right now? Hell no, I ain't buying that right now. That's just a no. Not a good look to be buying gold at the absolute highs. Whether you like it or not, it's a euphoric moment. It can continue to be a euphoric moment. That doesn't mean it's a good decision, right? We talked about good versus bad decisions. A good decision would potentially be, oh, I see rejection and we gap up, or I see, oh, we broke through this level. Okay, bam, curls down, curls back up, right? Maybe you're looking at futures. Futures is a lot easier, I think, for gold. But am I going to buy it here? Am I going to buy it here? Look at this. Buy low, sell high, right? If you wouldn't buy a stock, right? If I wouldn't buy a stock that looks like this, then why would I, if I wouldn't buy a stock that looks like it's dropping like crazy and just dramatically down, then why would I buy it here? You know? It's just an interesting way. I think we need to flip our thinking a little bit. And if you're holding gold for this whole period of time, you're looking at this and going, hey, this is great. Maybe I want to hold on to it. Maybe gold's something you never sell, right? I don't know how you like to do it with gold, but I would just say starting a position here is rough. I would say trimming a position or taking full profit on a position is potentially the decision making for right now. Do I think gold will go up forever and ever and ever and keep going and keep going and keep going? No. Now, one of those 0.01% moments, not a 1%, a 0.01% moments could happen where something changes throughout the whole system, and then gold is the only thing that's valuable, and the dollar is dropping dramatically, right? People taking more money out of the dollar. That's not a good sign. So maybe that does happen, but am I going to bet on a 0.01% thing to happen? No. It's not my game. I'd rather just look at this 30 minutes a day for the SPY and be like, oh, okay. If that 30-minute confirms, you know where we're probably heading? Right here. But notice the word was probably. That means there's a probability, there's a good probability that we'll head there. It doesn't mean this can't curl up, take out this high, and curl right back down, right? We're aware of management of risk. We have to know how to manage trades. That's what I like to do. I like to physically manage my trades pretty much like within the charts. I really don't try to utilize too many stops that often. I'll put them in every once in a while. I like to manage my trades just while the trade's happening, take control of the trades, be accountable. Not just, oh, it hits this level, I'm out. No, it hits that level, what's happening to the charts at that time. Oh, I get you, Wall Street Ponzi. I'm not saying sell, like, am I going to go sell all my physical gold? No. No, I'm more taking it on a trade scenario. I'm shorting gold for 10K. Hey, I wish you luck. It's very difficult to short something that's really, really squeezing. It's difficult to actually spot the top for exactly what Wall Street Ponzi is pointing out. I take profit. I learned that from GME. Yeah, GME was probably a good eye opener of like when to take, like, not get greedy. Oh yeah, I did notice Bitcoin looking interesting, and I think this is kind of like the gold play. Like Bitcoin is kind of being treated like gold or something at this point. But notice this: the 4 hour does have divergence on the MACD, not on the RSI anymore. So very, very good for this 4 hour to get up to key levels. A pullback from here would make sense, but we'll see what happens. I noticed that Netflix saw some good things. Remember that 1,000 mark was kind of what I was paying attention to. The 30-minute here could be a problem. Ah, man, I should have made weekly expected moves for Netflix. That would have been good. Damn. That's awesome, Wall Street Ponzi. That is fantastic. Yeah, that's pretty much the way to do it, you know? Stack, stack, stack slowly, and then see things on the horizon, and maybe stack, stack, stack a little bit heavier. All right. Anyway, I'll leave it on the SPY for a bit. Can I do this? Okay. Cool, cool, cool. 042, but I never seems to be. Yeah, we could just be pulling different IVs, Robert, but hey, at least you have something to go off of. But just know, like, that can IV crush people. Damn, that's pretty nice. That is really stacking it, though. DMN. We can maybe look at that on the other charts first. And if I see something interesting, we'll pull it over. This is just a penny stock that's dramatically, dramatically, dramatically down, it seems. Or it has turned into a penny stock all of a sudden after maybe IPOing or whatever. So this would just be a risk to reward. This would be a potential like, hey, what do you know about the company? Do you believe in the company? But that is not something that would be something to actually just trade back and forth, in my opinion, yet. But it'd be more so that guy that says, hey, I put $1,000 into this, and this, and then I see what happens, and the next year I do the same thing, and eventually a few of those will pop off and be good investments. But it's extremely low, right? So would I say buying that is ultimately a stupid decision? No, it could be a very good decision. That is actually something that at least is very low. Now, do I think that would be a, oh, bet the house on something that's worth less than a cent? Probably not a good idea, right? I'm just talking about decision making as far as investing goes. And that would be, you have to know more about the company at that point. I mean, this thing is just straight down. I mean, you can't tell me that there's great things to go off of here. You can't tell me that this is like, oh yeah, we could read into this and we're going to see this 2 hour divergence here. And I mean, it's finally going positive. That is a difference in situation if that's able to go positive. So would I say like now is potential to actually, see some upside? Yeah, but you don't know. That could literally be just to like there. But is that a good risk to reward for you? And that's how I'd treat it. What do you know about the company and those type of things? I'm gonna drink some of my coffee as we go down to the daily expected move. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and this. Right, P. Pope Francis. Max have $1,000 at 0.033. Exactly, yeah. So if you're like that type of thinking, I think it's better for that situation, James. If I'm seeing something that dramatic, it's kind of like I mean, I would say that's an argument even for something like AMC, right? I would say it's similar to that type of argument of just like, hey, is it going to improve? What do I know about the company? This thing's down dramatically at this point. So, do I want to bet the house on something like even AMC or that stock that you gave DMN? That's kind of that style of thinking. I think that style of thinking can take you further, but AMC actually gives like waves and signals and it's been around longer, so there's a difference there. But I would look at it from that perspective of, hey, I know that this is a risky thing to buy, so I'm not going to put a bunch of money behind it. I'm not going to risk too much, and I think that's perfectly a good way to think about it. So good price point there, 0.0033. You're already technically positive, correct? Can we take a look at coin? Yeah, I'll look at coin. Like I said, we're going to try to keep the SPY up just so we're paying attention correctly. But coin should be seeing some good things, right? It's not seeing that positivity. So the reason that coin still looks like a potential opportunity is just because of the daily divergence that has confirmed and it hasn't unconfirmed. Now you are experiencing, say, a 2-hour pullback. So if that scares you and you think this thing's going to drop down again, hey, okay, awesome. But for the time being, if this just goes bloop, well, you have some good structure, right? We really held at that key level for a good amount of time. And let's see if this thing can produce some upside. Where would be the next hurdle to get through? Well, it's potentially 205. Where's the ultimate goal to get through to actually see potentially more upside? Well, you got to get through this and this. And then if you do that, ooh, you could still run your head into this kind of box right here, right? So the ultimate thing would be this would be really good to get to 250. But for the time being, you got to get through some serious levels like 205, 206. It's not bad though. You would want it to create structure on the way up. That's very, very good. See the SPY there? Click over to the SPY here. Since they spun off out of NPX or XTIA. Yes, put that $1,000 in it, expecting to lose or make a nice bank. Exactly, and literally, I talk to boomers, my dad's friends who do that strategy. They literally do that to a T every single time. There's just every year they say, hey, I've got an extra $5,000. I'm gonna put $1,000 into 5 stupid things, and then they all in 20 years, one of them ends up being right, and they're able to make tens of thousands, if not $100,000 off of like 2 of them. It happens. Now, I don't think it would be 5,000 a year into different stocks. They might accumulate into the same, like, say, 10 stocks or something like that. Okay, so Amazon in 55 seconds. This would be Amazon completely violating the 30-minute divergence that is possible here. And could easily head down another about 5 points lower for Amazon. Running directly into the daily expected move soon for the SPY. Start off the day. And we'll have to pay attention if we do see some kind of big upward move or downward move. We need to be paying attention to the news behind it as well. MSTR, I think, actually had a really good look to it as well. Everything that had to do with Bitcoin had like daily divergence, right? Had daily divergence. Yeah, it actually did still have that daily divergence. So for MSTR, you can see that daily double bottom is kind of there. Now you're aware that you need to break through some key things, right? To get to here, you have to break through here, right? Something very simple. To go 50 points higher, you got to break through 20 points higher, something like that. So for the time being, you're like, ooh, this is kind of walking up, walking up, walking up. What's that 30-minute look like? Well, it's starting to produce a bunch of little diverge. So if the 30-minute curls down, that's not a good sign, right? You're losing the 5, and you could get a deeper 2-hour pullback because you see that the 2-hour has not fully been able to pull back. We tried to get this small pullback with time, and it looks good so far, but easily this 30-minute could just cross down. The 2-hour actually pulls down, maybe even to go to that 273 to gap fill, and then we curl back up. We're looking for maybe something like this, right? We take this and we go, okay, it's in that zone now. That's great. See if that can pull back into that area, touch the bottom, and then curl up, and you would have left head and right shoulder, right? That's how I see it for MSTR. I think it's great. I think it looks good, but I know that this can go through some trouble as well. Yeah, it's just hard to see a V-shaped recovery, right? It's hard to call a V-shaped recovery until you see the V-shape starting, right? Right now, you would say things are dropping down and down and down, and there's no recovery yet. So, am I going to be able to guess exactly where that V-shaped recovery comes in? I would say things like Amazon and Meta are at those key levels, right? We'll see if that happens, but they can go much lower if the SPY starts dropping down lower as well. Thanks for looking at Coin. You're welcome, Monumental. Oh, and Robert, I kind of figured. I was like, at least you have a number to pay attention to, right? It makes you feel better about your trading if you just have a calculated number to pay attention to. I'm sure it wouldn't be as off as you think. I got out of my SPY put. Yeah, well, this is the area to potentially make that decision, Kalani. You're just talking about good decision making. You're talking about good decision making, and that was a potentially good decision for whatever you're going through right now. And I think that I would agree if I was day trading and we go down to a daily expected move, then yeah, the decision of profit taking would potentially be right now for the day, especially if I have very short dated options. At the end of the day, any good decision could be a bad one. Any bad decision could be a good one. It's more how we react, right? Did we make money? Did we, did we capitalize on the fact that we're making money right now, right, Kalani? And then we say, okay, this is a point to pay attention to. This is where we can see some kind of bounce. Okay, awesome, because I have that data point that really helps me out. But hopefully that was good money. Marvel, I'm interested in this little 30-minute divergence we're seeing now, but it does not show any inclination of confirming just yet. Yeah, Marvel Technology. Marvel Technology here, the little 30-minute thing going on here, not necessarily the most dramatic of selling, just coming back down to those lows while creating potential 30-minute divergences here on your RSI and MACD. The 2-hour chart overall curled down. So still in this scenario, I need that 2-hour to whip back up. The daily scale could curl down here, and that would be a bigger risky moment, right? And we didn't necessarily have divergence. We had it on the MACD, not on the RSI at the same time. So there is always still the chance of going like this, creating that divergence real quick on the daily, and then seeing if that can turn back up. But all of this is seeing if that can turn back up. There's no reaction to really make unless we're doing decisions like we were talking about with James earlier, right? Am I willing to buy this at low levels? Maybe not even with options, right? But for something like this, if you're trying to do options with it, this can curl down still on the daily scale. It doesn't have daily divergence as good as other things, and you have not seen really any kind of really, I would say, effective tapering, right? Because you're coming down like this, and you're coming down like this, right? You're just coming down, and it's very, very almost linear. Now you probably have seen it a little bit, right? We've seen it a little bit, which means the direction is slightly changed. And then what I'm talking about is you need that to slightly change even further for the short term and then see that curl back up. But the and see that curls back up is the moment to react. That when you are seeing it curl back up, that's the moment to react. You could potentially look at like 4-hour for this, right? You see 4-hour flat divergence. Okay, maybe that had a decision, but if I see a 4-hour actually make that, actually right here, that would be a better deal, I think, for the time being, or just a possibility that's always there. So we're sitting at a daily expected move and we're chilling. Tesla dropping down to lower levels, potentially fill that gap. I think if Tesla's going down this far, it's going to fill that gap. I mean, I would be really surprised if we don't go down to fill that gap, which is at 221.67. So for something like Tesla on these charts, we can see that it's going down towards these levels. We can see that the 2-hour is doing what? Oh, well, potentially making that divergence point, right? If the 2-hour whips back up, Maybe we go down deeper to actually make that divergence point. But for the time being, if that 2 hours holding and it curls up at any time, that's still a good sign. That's still a good sign. This would be like a double dip type of scenario. What do you get here? One double dip. What do you get here? One double dip. What do you get in the bigger time frame? One double dip. Now, it doesn't mean we can't go one double dip right here and then see something, right? It could take a lot of time. But my whole thing is, does the 2 hour confirm up? Does it go positive? Does this RSI get back above that center line? Does the price action get back above all these moving averages for the 2 hour chart? Let me check something real quick for Tesla. Tesla can go like 15 points lower if it really wants to. And Tesla could go, really, if it wanted to, Tesla could go 20 points lower. This is not crazy as far as the month goes for Tesla. Like Tesla for the month hasn't even really seen something crazy, just so you're aware. So if it needs to go see something crazy, well, something like this would be the way to do it. That's a big problem. And this can shoot you down lower. So just be aware, if things are curled down, they are not curled up. And Tesla is one that has not really exceeded that monthly expected move. So just understand that. If you need monthly expected moves, that's what the Patreon's for. It'll be very helpful in your thinking, but for Tesla, it seems worrisome at the moment. See if I can look at it on the daily. Daily chart is crossing down as well for Tesla, which means levels like 200 are possible. We'll see. Gotta get you guys up over here. I'm having to stream a little bit in a different way right now. Not used to it. Yields curling down on a 2 hour. Sugar, we're going down swinging. Okay, so let's go through those decisions I was talking about earlier. Remember the decision of, hey, if I see a reversal signal, then maybe I'm out of my shorts. Maybe I see this tag this area and I take some profit and leave some runners in case we end up down to here. Right now, the MACD is saying, hey, right now, this is possible. Now we have a 68% chance to close above this by the end of the day. That doesn't mean we can't go boom. Doesn't mean we can't do something like that. I don't think that's very, very probable for the day. That would be the 95% area for the day. But for the time being, we have not seen the buy come in. So this is still possible. VIX just starting to move up? Bro, it's up like 10%, 12%. Woo! PCC coming out to those higher points as well. Sip on a cup of joe. Oh my goodness. What a day. Is it good to be losing these levels? No, it is not good to be losing these levels, just so you're aware. Yeah, maybe, Dubs. UVXY making millionaires the last 4 months for sure, dude. UVXY, our boy. Our boy UVXY. Where's Martial Law at? We need to see if his SVIX and VVIX play, or SVIX and whatever VIX, UVIX are playing out. Ugh. People are funny. Which goes down twice and ask for more. What cost is pricing in some insane stuff, huh? So I would still suggest, I mean, I would still say at least that the RSI needs to hold that divergence point. So that's something I'd be watching this morning. Right now, we're just at a daily expected move. So this is expected for the day. Anything else would be unexpected. Just trying to look at yields for a sec. Two-hour lower high would be insane. PCC just hit over 1. Let's look at volatility as well. Volatility as well, just so you're aware, this still isn't popping off just yet. Now, this is where it can. So once again, if we're worried about the crash type of scenario, that will be a daily chart, just crosses down. A daily chart for VIX, though, crosses up, and we just don't see that thing able to reverse back around. So that would mean if the daily chart curls down for the SPY, which I believe right now, you're freaking close, dude. I mean, that's almost a confirmation, pretty drastic. But you haven't even curled down on the RSI. Maybe not. The RSI is pretty leading, and that hasn't curled down yet. So we'll see if some big weakness comes in. But for the time being, daily expected move. So nothing for me to react to yet. If the SPY would curl down on a daily, I potentially would be reacting. Okay, see, the housing sector was doing all right. That's starting to not do all right. VVIX is going to potentially curl up there. Daily chart. New high for volatility from yesterday, or from Friday, for Thursday. I think the big problem is the dollar, but the dollar, weirdly enough, just so you're aware, is creating potential reversal signals. Not looking very good on your RSI, so very rough there for the dollar. We will need the dollar to come back in some way. It means if it bounces from here and could confirm some things for me, I would really like it. And I think that the best target for that, the most probable thing is if you curl up a 30-minute here, it starts to become more probable to see that. Now, that doesn't have to happen, right? Am I going to take, oh, yeah, this has to happen by Friday? Or am I just going to be like, oh, I'll give myself 3 weeks. And then if this wants to fool around for a longer period of time and then get there, that'd still be a good thing. Right? We don't want to assume, don't assume that this is a regular thing, right? This might be a regular thing for the environment we're in right now, but this is not a regular thing. A 11% or 10% up move in a few hours. It's not really a thing you see very often. So it's more just, do I see a good signal? Does that signal hold? Right? Do I need to manage my risk in some way? So much has changed. Yep, it's still valid. The reason that it's still valid, Rajiv, is because someone knew this was coming. There are people who knew this was coming. So those orders, those trades were potentially already in place. Yellow, purple, etc. Yeah, yellow is your monthly expected move. Dotted yellow is our 95% monthly expected move. So this is your 68% bottom side. This is your 95% bottom side. So this is the second standard deviation. That's the only confusing thing maybe on the chart. Weekly expected move as labeled right here in blue. For the purple, weekly expected move. This is your 68% zone for the week right here. And then your daily expected move is the red. So it goes monthly in yellow, daily in red, weekly in purple. And Patreon members, we did give you the second standard deviation for the weekly expected move for all the stocks that we do cover in case you see something crazy. We won't give them all the time. It's just the environment we're in. If we're in that environment of extreme volatility, it's good to have those moves. You don't see them touched very often. Let's put it that way. Right? If anything, you would say you see them touched 5% of the time. So the daily ones you'll see more often. So daily expected moves in red, monthly in yellow, weekly in purple, right? And we give those for free for the daily expected moves every day, for the weekly expected moves every week, and for the monthly expected moves every month for the SPY and the Qs. Third deviation moves. Oh, those are those. Oh gosh. Oh goodness. If we were given you would see that 1% of the time. You would see those tagged 1% of the time. Like you got to think, even this right here, this was 5% of the time. This was not. This was technically like a 3 to 5% move down to these levels outside of here. A 1% move would have been like what 460, maybe 460, maybe 470. So if we go to 470, yeah, you're literally seeing a 1% monthly moment, and that is insane, isn't it? Losing the level of the daily expected move as of right now. No curl up as of right now. So down, down, down is the direction, right? If I take something here, I am assuming the risk that this could never curl back up. Third deviation only occurs when nukes fly or COVID hits or whatever. Is that short-term pain? People interpret that as just February. Short-term pain could mean, I would say they want it resolved before, like, I think they want it, I would say short-term pains means like 6 months to a year. I genuinely think that. If we get anything before 6 months to a year, that's very lucky. Right? If all of this is resolved and we just go to new all-time highs and we experience a bull market for like all the way up into the end of, or maybe fall of 2025 for a while, we just experience that bull push for that long, that would be lucky from these areas, right? Because if we think about it, short-term pain does not mean a month, most likely. Short-term pain probably means like 6 months. So anything before 6 months is like very, very lucky. QQQ weeklies, yeah, we got you. 465.29 to the upside, 422.91 to the downside. And we are now below the monthly expected move as well for the Qs. And if we blow up this RSI, we can see, okay, it's still holding. So this 30-minute is pretty important. And the next 30-minute, the next pretty much all the way up until like the next 40 minutes are pretty damn important because they'll dictate whether or not we're able to actually base out down here. And hold the divergence. That's why we can go up without divergence, right? But yeah, if we can confirm divergence, that would be a great hint. Did you get those? I like milk real quick. 465.29, 422.91 to the downside. Notice that would take you directly to the breakout area. Oh my goodness, that would be so nice. Now that would be risky, but very nice. Apple going down to that 95% line saying, hey, I'm making a divergence by my 95% line in the sand. See what it can do. As of right now, 2 hour, ooh, starting to go negative, not the best look. So maybe I want to wait for confirmation, but no. Hey, Apple's at the 95% line. That means it would have to see something absolutely crazy. So maybe I want to, just in case something absolutely crazy can happen, which it can, right? The daily chart starts to curl back down, not a good sign. Well, if that's going to happen, then I don't necessarily want to be in something as it's going down. I want to see someone make a decision before me who knows more information, see that curl up on the MACD, see the price action get back above these bad boys, and then see that make a nice upward move. And maybe I have a weekly expected move to help myself out. There you go, 190.52 for Apple. Potentially we'll make a Patreon video on the first day here because there are some things to pay attention to. Look at that, doesn't look good yet. Oh yeah, I just gave. Oh wait, you just asked that. That's my bad. And Apple reacting there will help the SPY. Yes, Apple would be a very important stock to help out the SPY. I'm worried about taking a sometimes the riskiest ones have the best reward, right? The ones with the most risk, if they can resolve issues and you see a good, sometimes it's the best. But for Apple, I'm just worried about the whole China side of things. Good old China. I'm just worried about Apple with that. I did. Thank you. Okay, awesome. I like Milk. I just wanted to double check. I like Milk. Welcome over to Rumble, too. Thank you for coming over to Rumble. We noticed you came over last week. That's awesome. NF, did you get all that, by the way, buddy? Upside in semis. ABGO showing some interesting stuff. I just sold that, and I haven't looked back at it. Remember the sell? It's just violating inversions, which is kind of rough. Unless this is some kind of unique trap, but the 2 hour is still holding there. It's just, it does not look good for the time being. The daily chart, we want to see if that's going to cross over at some point. Now, it would kind of say this. It's like, hey, if that 2 hour curls up, hey, that potentially could be another move like this, right? We could see another move maybe like this one. Bam, bam, bam. Maybe, right? Maybe this is all just something like this. Okay, awesome. So 2 hour curls up, good. If the daily curls down, ooh, that's good. That's bad. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that. And then a buy comes in like this, and you go, okay, now the momentum has shifted back to the upside with daily divergence, right? So there's a couple ways to think about it. Mostly you're just thinking as you have curled up here, you're thinking high or low, or do we go down for the double dip for AVGO? I would say you're in a similar-ish scenario for something like NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA curling down right now. Not necessarily able to curl up on a 2 hour. We were always looking for that 2 hour to curl up. Didn't happen. Going down to fill the gap. Now we got to see what happens because this is your breakout area. But if that daily is going to confirm down like this today, then it would say, pay attention to my weekly expected move downside. Wonder where that is. You're getting pretty close to it right now, honestly. You're not too far off from it. Another couple percentage points. Oh, wrong thing. Sorry, forgot. Nope, we're streaming differently today. Damn it. Yeah, YouTube was about to not work on my streaming service, so I switched some things around for it. Like a 4 hour confirming up for volatility soon won't be the best sign. I'm going to go use the restroom real quick, and I will be right back. I'm going to put you guys over on the SPY so we can look at that 30-minute chart, all right? And I think something big here will just be like looking at the RSI, maybe even just zooming into that and seeing, hey, can we hold this like right now? Be right back. And we're back. What happened? Oh, God. SPY's still going to lower levels. That's happening. Now you can zoom out on this RSI a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, we'll leave it there for a second. Volume, there he is. Sorry, NBA, I was using the restroom real quick. I need to put on my little restroom sticker. My guy, Big Cheese. If we're gonna hold, it'll be here. That's kind of how I see it. We're gonna hold it. It's got to be, I would say, this morning. I would say by the afternoon we need to start seeing a little bit of upside, at least a little bit, or at least like some flagging. And then at the end of the day, you need that to kind of go wrong. All right, the next way down would be kind of close the day like this and then drop again. I'm in 516 call. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the decision making makes sense. I don't know if even the 5-minute really agrees with that. We'll see. So what could end up happening now in the 5-minute is we could see like, oh, it reacts up. We see another big drop, right? Then at the end of the day, you kind of just start to go. On the 5-minute, you usually get those second pushes. Well, you would say Trump's a random, right? You would say Trump's a random variable that you can't really see coming fully. So you're slightly correct, but we still have data that we can pay attention to, even if, say, the technicals don't look very good. But at this moment, do technicals look bad? Like, do they look awful? I would say they look pretty bad when you look at the bigger stuff. But if you really just look at a 2-hour, if that would curl up, do technicals really look that bad? Literally, if the 2-hour curled up right now and we start to see upside here, does it look that bad? You know, that's how I kind of treat it right now. It's like, no. Now, if the technicals, if this never curls back up, if we even go down to these levels and we never see a buy come in, are they looking way worse? Yes. And you're kind of like, hey, Trump needs to save this thing, or someone needs to save this thing. But for the time being, hey, they don't look like they're going up, but do they look really, really bad? No, if this curled up, you would say they still look all right. They just maybe don't look good for your strategy, and that's perfectly fine, right? Practice some patience. If it's not looking good for your strategy, you know, then it's not necessarily a time to react in any way. As of right now, we would say this is not good, right? This is not a good thing. You do not want to be coming down below these areas for the SPY. You don't want to be coming down, and the Qs are the only one holding it. So Qs maybe, but man, the SPY is really looking at some downside. If it can't hold that divergence and then it confirms up, it might be just another trap to the upside. That would be a big problem. So market where you sell bounces, not buy dips. What if you already sold the bounces? How do you sell more bounces? How do you sell more bounces, you know? Well, you look at the potential good times too. Maybe buy a dip. Is this in my pocket? Like, what the heck? Oh, there it is. Just sit out. Oh, well, then you can't sell bounces. Because if you're sitting out completely, then how are you selling bounces? Unless you're talking about positions, maybe, right, Dubs? Positions for looking for those bounces to give you those positions to the downside, maybe. But you know, Nazim said this to me. Nazim was emailing me this weekend. We were, you know, trying to chat back and forth. I was trying to, but Nazim messaged me this weekend. He goes, "Yeah, I saw the environment. I just sat out. He just didn't do anything." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It's like that's probably the best way to not have an ulcer and not make a big mistake. It's just be like, "Ah, I'm just gonna sit out." Oh, I see a good 30-minute signal way down here. Okay, awesome. I'm in. Oh, one trade. Oh, man, I see 30-minute divergence at the top. I don't play around with this stuff. I made a good trade. I'm out. And then he's back sitting out, you know? One good trade here was fantastic. Oh, I think it's definitely a little bit more unpredictable right now. Yes. And that's why the scenarios are very wide. There's a wide range of scenarios that are possible. Oh yeah, I'll take a peek at Costco real quick, by the way, for Robert, right? So I don't like the divergences on the 30-minute. This really looks like a 2-hour, and the 2-hour divergence is there as well. So Costco could run into some issues here. think long-term near 500. 500's, yeah, great level. Do I think it's possible today? I would say it's not as probable today to go to 511. 511 would be your 5% moment. So to tell you just blatantly what the options market is saying, this is not my probability, but for the options market, going down to, well, where did we start the day? 526, 10 points about, so 5 points. So that would be about you would say about 10% chance to go down there, which means that can be great money, right? If you were able to catch one of those moments, it would be great money, right? Because it's a 10% chance. The options market's not pricing it in. When something that the options market doesn't price in ends up happening, what happens to the value of those options of people who decided to do that? Well, it goes way up, right? Not a lot of people would think 511 today. It would say maybe 10% of people think 511 for today. And so if you got to 511 today, then you would say, oh, well, then that's going to be great money, right? I'm in cost puts, by the way. I would say like that's the better place to be for the time being, and then be paying attention if that 30-minute curls up at any time, right? If you're going to see something crazy, if you have weekly, it sounds like you're calculating your weekly expected moves, Robert. So hopefully you have those. I don't know where you're at with those right now because I don't have them. Curl up is now, old man. You kind of need it like right now, because right now the RSI is saying that 511 is very possible, right? Down into these areas is very possible still. This 5 minute will bounce eventually. But when is eventually? We can't put a hard time on that. Oh, it got deleted? Oh, shoot. That's bad. That's unfortunate. That happens. Well, some points to pay attention to would potentially be what? 958, 958.50. 958, 958.50. Yeah, I saw that too, Dubs. Charts look pretty similar. So for the time being, I think the 30-minute divergence is enough to say, like, okay, a 2-hour pullback is at least going to come here. But I would still have my management for the trade, right, Robert? If I'm short, then I'm looking for anything that looks like we could head up. That would ruin my trade. So you got to figure out which time frame you're going to use for that. And that's probably the best way to go about it, is just be like, hey, this is the type of setup I look for. I'm taking it. How do I normally manage risk? Okay, well, I like to manage the trade, so I'm going to look at this time frame. And if this confirms up on a good confirmation, then I have to be out of the trade and maybe even potentially taking a small loss. But that is going to give me that survivability. I am still making a good decision. So if the next one pops up, I am available to take that one as well because I made those type of decisions. I think that's great. Yeah, I don't think it's directly comparable, Rajiv. I'm just saying, hey, the charts look similar. I'm not reading into it. If I thought that was the exact thing, here's the thing. Okay, so if you think Nvidia is going to behave like, say, Cisco, well, then we might catch a bounce eventually, right? We might do this, we might catch a bounce. But if I saw that, then I'd be like, oh, if this is good, okay, if I truly believe it's just following the Cisco chart, to an extent, then I would look for a big rip and I'd be like, all right, I'm shorting this thing down, because Cisco over the next year or so went all the way down by 70% from one of these pops. All right, look at that. Okay, $40, right? If that's my thinking, right? That's not how I do things, but that's called putting your money where your mouth is. If it's very obvious to you, then you would trade behind it. And then you have to accept the fact if you're going to be wrong. That's just the truth of it. That's just how trading works. But I love people that come out, and I'm not saying you guys are culprits of this. I just see it all the time online. I love people that come out and they say things are a for sure thing, and then they don't put money behind it. That makes no sense to me. The guy who was buying Bitcoin at $100, who said this for sure will get to 100K, ended up being right. And I bet money he put his money where his mouth was, right? Not the guy that, paid 10 Bitcoin for a pizza or whatever. Nice, not Navin. That's good. I'm just saying, if people call things and tell them to you and say they're very obvious, well, then they should have money behind them. If it's that obvious to make money, then it should be easy. But I'm going to tell you right now, people like that, they usually don't stick around, or they don't aren't able to have longevity in their trading career. They probably just get lucky a couple times and then think that they have the best strategy in the world. Hey, that's happened to me before, right? And all it took was a bear market rally to slap me back with some humble. And then I go, okay, I got to change things a little bit, just a little bit. The people who are willing to adapt and change, the people who are willing to trade like water and change their stuff around just a little bit, change their thinking, those are the people who survive in markets. Took calls on IWM to 184. IWM holding up the best. That's surprising to me. I thought this could experience the bigger drop. DIA really giving it up. DIA giving up critical levels. It's kind of leaning towards this now, right? 378. But IWM holding up pretty well. Very interesting. Apple, how's that bad boy doing? Just stopping in the sand right there. Stopping at that line in the sand. We'll see what happens. Trump's just like, we will no longer be tariffing anyone. We're going back to the start. And then the market booms to all-time highs. And everyone goes, yay, we're being tariffed. And we're not tariffing anyone. That makes a lot of sense, I guess. Imagine that. I made 250K in bear market, and then relief rally took 35% one day and never looked back. Lost all my profits shorting from there. Exactly. See, that can be a very humbling moment. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Tony. I did it with lesser amounts. I'm someone who trades, a lot of the time I'm using amounts that do not affect my family, but I totally understand when you're doing something and it works so well, maybe better than anything that you've ever done before has worked, to think that it will always continue. But now you have that mentality, Tony. So if that environment shows up again, you might be able to execute, and then you see something that goes against you, and then you see maybe you short it once and it doesn't work, and then you squeeze the next day and you go, oh, this is what I did wrong last time. Hands off. I made 250K. Okay, that last trade, I lost 10, 20K. Okay, I'm out. I'm done. Nope, I sit. I wait for my environment again. Now, if your environment is only bear market, I would highly encourage learning a little bit more, right? Because most of the time you're not in a bear market, right? Yeah, most of the time you're not in a bear market. So if your strategy is solely around a bear market, you got to just try to figure something else out. Maybe just investing after you see, okay, we're in a bear market. I see a daily divergence. Okay, now I invest and I wait for the next bear market, which could take 10 years, but it keeps you from doing something silly. Tina's back. Tina, eat your dinner. Come on, Tina. Sorry for yelling into the mic, guys. I was having fun for a second. Bitcoin be popping. Tina, I hope you had a great weekend. Nice to see you here. I'm still looking at Costco over here, just like, man, it's such an interesting look. I wonder if we do get that 2 hour to pull back. Because the pullback wasn't great enough. I don't know. I think this level down here of 943, Robert, looks interesting as well. Man, it sucks you deleted your weekly expected moves. No offense. Yeah, happy Easter right back to you, Tina. I hope you and your family are doing very, very well. I hope you had a good time with them. Sometimes with my family, someone always knows to show up with a bottle of tequila just in case things go a little ham. And if mom starts to pop off, we give her one shot of tequila and she loosens up and turns into a lot of fun. That's all it takes. She's a small gal. Do you ever look at 1 minute charts or lower? No. Just no, Alex. I can read into them. It's just they fail signals too much of the time for what I like to do. And it's too stressful. I don't like to stress myself out, Respect all religions, but he has risen. Exactly. That's how I am. I think, and I actually took, Tony, I actually took a full semester of something in college where I got to study other religions. I got to study other things as well, ways of life. I got to study Buddhism, which I thought Buddhism was super. I mean, I have a Buddhist tattoo. I think Buddhism's really cool. It's kind of like, it's kind of stoic if you read into it a certain way, which I thought was really cool. But at the end of the day, you know, Christ is my king. I believe Christ is your king, but I don't think you have to believe that Christ is your king. You are free to do whatever you would like. Really, the only one that stuck with me, Siri, was Buddhism a little bit, but I've forgotten too much. I'd have to read into it. I think Buddhism's really, really cool. Now, do I follow it to a T? Am I doing things like that? No, but I'm just glad that people are open, to talking about different religions and things like that. At the end of the day, I think all religions will be flawed. They're run by humans. I think faith is more important than the religion. I think faith in your actions and how you are as a human being is 10 times more important than what church you go to on Sunday. And that comes from someone who grew up Catholic his entire life. So my mom's probably going to call me today and be like, all sad because of the Pope. And I'll be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I have faith in 30-minute and 2-hour divergences. And I would have this too. Like, you have faith in 30-minute and 2-hour divergences, and have faith in your accountability and your decision making, right? If you set a plan for if it's going wrong, follow the plan if it's going wrong, and you'll probably thank yourself more than hating yourself. What happened to the Pope? Apparently, the Pope passed. RIP. I have faith that I will double my $10 today. Let's hope so. A very easy way, guys, if you're only dealing with small amounts, like say $10 now, Tyler. I know we had a rough go of it. If you're wanting to double $10, go sell something on Facebook Marketplace for $10. Go work for an hour for $10. You doubled your $10. If you worked a full day, you might even quadruple that $10. I'll tell you what, if you work 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, you could 40x that $10. If you did that for a full year, I don't want to do math, but if you did that for a full year, you would make 20,000.8K. $20,800. It's a matter of perspective. Then you got to pay taxes. Unfortunately, then you get screwed. True statement about having a plan and following it all the time. Exactly. There were plenty of times, Fritz, and this is proven in my trading, where I would make a plan for if it's going wrong, and then that little guy in my head goes, no. It's going to bounce from here. It's going to bounce from here. And then it doesn't. And then he goes, well, this is the next support right here. This is the next support. I used to do this all the time, like 4 years ago. No, this is the next support. This is the next support. 6 years ago. This is the next support. And thankfully, my wins were very, very good, because that was a big problem, back in the day. And I had to change things. And I realized that the more time I just let something go and look for the next opportunity, it's much better. Am I muted? No, Richard, you're here. I didn't see any of your messages, though. Richard, thoughts on IBM? Yeah, let's go look at IBM real quick. Costco's still holding at that low level. I was just staring at it on my other screen. Ooh, yeah, you see that rolling right now. You see that rolling. So this might need to make that higher low and prove to you like, hey, I'm curling back up into positive territory. Because as of right now, it looks like a move for IBM, just down a little bit lower. I think a test of 232 would be nice. So pulling this across for IBM. If we look at this, and this is going to break through this low, well, where would it really want to go to? Well, let's just look for a key area, because we don't have weekly expected moves. Well, we see this, we see this, we see this, we see this that failed and gapped here. So I would say this area right here, if you can hold this, if you could curl up from right bink there, which I'm going to put this in white and not make it a dotted line. I would say that 233, right? Maybe we just put it on a hard line of 233, right? We would say, hey, if it can bounce off of that in some way, that would be a good pullback. Maybe it's as simple as that. As for right now, the 30-minute, you're not necessarily at the levels you would want to be to see divergence or anything. So 30 minutes not going to be really your helper here. It would more just be like, hey, do I see the 2-hour swing trade confirm? Because if the 2-hour swing trade can confirm and do this and then curl back up, you break through this, where are you likely to get to? Well, you're likely to get to like 250, 250. Or sorry, 250, 50. 250, 50. My bad. I said that wrong. And that's really what I'd be watching for IBM. I just don't necessarily want to be like, oh yeah, this is losing the 5. That looks fantastic. You would have rather seen like a great move and then seen that pullback to react off the 5, right? And that might be this moment. So what we're looking for is, can this curl up using that resistance that can then become support? Because we haven't retested it yet. And that's really what I'd be watching for the time being. I think a swing there might be possible if you see positivity after a little bit more downside. You got a feeling? I got a feeling that IBM has better earnings. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I would say this more so than not, Richard. 50% of people, or I would say this, 47.5% of people probably think IBM is going to have a bad earnings. 47.5 people probably think that IBM is going to have a good earnings, and 5% of people know exactly what's going to happen with earnings because they have more information than we do. And that's what is the problem with earnings. It's very difficult to really be like, oh yeah, I know exactly how this is going to work. Technicals can kind of be thrown out the window with it unless I see like a golden setup. So I would say if something has earnings and has a golden setup, you know, if Meta or Amazon make a 30-minute divergence before they actually give out the earnings, then they would have, technically, Amazon would have a daily divergence, a 2-hour divergence, and a 30 divergence all at the same time. If you don't know what we're discussing by the golden setup, well, the course is down there in the description. It's 80% off. So that's something we talk about in the course. We saw it on Apple before in earnings, and I said the only time I would ever play in earnings, I would still look at my position size, but if it had that, that's when I would take it. You want to see the last time for the golden setup with Apple it was a while back, and we've seen a couple more, by the way. It's just Apple's the one that I always remember. It was right in here. Right here, you had a golden setup just before earnings. It pulled back before the earnings, and then boom, just started to rocket up. So this technically was a golden setup. So earnings season is a good time to look for golden setups. If I don't see one, then I'm usually staying away from earnings. Apple, how we doing here? We're going down to that line. Can we see something good? Nothing good happening here. In fact, going up to that daily move and rejecting for now. Rajiv, does that only work if you get a big move, though, in one direction? Because if that would stay flat, then all you're losing is the delta, right? You're just going to lose delta, especially if the delta is that high. So if it stays flat, I guess that would be where position size potentially comes in, right, Rajiv? Oh boy. You get me a water now. We will be hopping off in about, I got like 20 minutes left, and then I'll have to hop off and potentially put something out for Patreon. That might come a little bit later on in the day. I'm gonna grab water real quick. My bag of water. Yeah, this implied moves need to be beaten by actual move. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. So you need to see a decent size, at least the measured move or the expected move from the earnings to happen in one direction for that to be super beneficial, I guess. Because if it just sits like it sees like a 1% move up or down, yeah, one could be a little tiny bit more valuable, but your IV could have already crushed it. That's great though, Rajiv. If you're good with position size, I'm sure it's not even that scary. All right, let's go look at some other things real quick. Amazon finally getting a wick. We'll see if that can turn up. Nvidia has filled the gap. Did AMD fill its gap? Or no, AMD's gap is way down there though. Weirdly enough. Oh, weirdly enough. AMD is the one holding a divergence here. Very interesting. Someone said SMCI just now too. What's that doing? Yeah, it's not holding it as well. AMD, weirdly enough, holding that. That's interesting. If the 30-minute could curl back up there, 2-hour might follow. You're looking for that. This needs a solid move, though. This needs to do some work. That needs to do some work and get back to 115. That could take a long time. Click through a couple others here. Meta holding the divergence. Very nice for Meta. Still could go like, I think it was like 15 points lower or something. Microsoft not holding it. Google not holding it. That's going to be a big problem. I bet everyone's paying attention to these lows, right? Everyone's like, yeah, we're going to go to those lows. Let's hope they're not wrong, making big bets maybe. DCC relatively high. Dixie Baby's trying to come back. The 4-hour divergence is on the MACD, not the RSI. What does that mean for oil? Okay, so oil didn't make the same move as the dollar. Trying to curl up. It needs to see some positivity soon. Ooh, it's rough. What about DJ Tizzle? Trying to clamp down on those short sellers in the stock, huh? At least that's what was potentially reported. Amazon's looking all right though, Oscar. It's just wiping out the 30-minute divergence, which is unfortunate. So I would say Meta actually looks a tiny bit better. Look at VIX. I see it on the right side there, up 14%. What about it? Jonte? The Walmart market. I like that, Dubs. I'm personally betting against these earnings with bias. Willow's looking. Willow's giving those eyes. Willow is roaring kitty. Man, what are we gonna do, Richard? What are we gonna do, man? Did you see? I watched. I actually was very entertained by Lottery Stock's video yesterday. Were you entertained? IBM earnings, not anything else. Oh God, don't get excited thinking I was saying Roaring Kitty posted or something. No, apparently like a lot of YouTubers were like, he has to post today. It's 100% gonna happen yesterday, and then it just like didn't. And I just imagined a bunch of people just refreshing and refreshing and refreshing their Twitter feeds and Reddit. View now for the S&P 500 is you are down at lower levels, and the probabilities would point to upward resolution. A crash type scenario, just to get that out of the way, would be the daily MACD is able to curl down, right? And it never curls back up, right? People are saying this is going to go down another 10%. Well, you know what has to happen for 10% to go down? This has to cross. It is crossing right now. So today is going to be a very important day. If this is going to be crash potential and highly probable a crash, well, then the daily chart will have to be curled down in negative territory. And if a 10% down move from here is going to happen, okay, in order to see 460, well, the daily is going to have to cross down. So if that's a possibility, and you're seeing something that makes it possible, hey, that means potentially I'm not in. Now let's go over the bull case. The bull case is the 2-hour could curl up, and we could just see this thing as potentially a higher low. The bull case would even be, hey, if that's not going to go down by 10%, but maybe it goes down by like 6, and then turns back up, then I need to be ready to react. And that could create a daily divergence. But as the daily is crossed down, is that probable? No, as the daily crosses back up, that would be the time, right? So we're looking at 2-hour. I think 4-hour chart's good to watch as well. If you look at the 4-hour and the 4-hour goes like this and then curls up, well, can the daily keep going down if the 4-hour is going up? No, it can't. they move in tandem, right? They're just different time frames. So if this is pointing up with divergence, then the daily going down another 6% or 5% from here is just not probable. Unless I see that go up and then bink, reverse right back down, right? We confirm the divergence and then we fail. Then you would say, ooh, that's going to wipe it out. So there's ways to read into it. I think a 4-hour divergence down at the lows would be nice. I think if the 2-hour curls up right now, it would be a higher low. And that's about it. Is that how you're seeing it, Jalal? Waiting eagerly. Yeah, that patience is getting difficult, isn't it? But for the time being, for the day, if you're wondering about the S&P 500 for the day, we don't say this as like, hey, it's me, I'm a magician or anything, but we do say this in the fact that this is a 68% zone. And your 68% zone for the month is above that line, but you have a little bit of time. But for the day, it's this. So right now, you're experiencing something a little crazy. That would mean by the end of the day, 68% chance to go like that. Qs, seeing something a little crazy outside of the monthly as well now. Look at that. Still holding the 30-minute divergence for the Qs. So you still have some time here to be watching the Qs. Bitcoin's just a 4-hour curl up. If the 4-hour curls down, that's bad, right? Nothing too crazy for Bitcoin. It's just 4-hour curled up. Remember we were talking about this last week. Hey, if the 4-hour curls up in this, it's built a lot in this area. So you're probably going to see a decent sized move. Not bad. Not bad. But if the 4-hour curls down, not the best sign in the world. But this would be an area where a curl down would make sense. Yeah, as of right now, though, daily divergence, daily triple divergence on your RSI for Bitcoin. So this means positivity is a very likely thing. That's why we were talking about the 4-hour curling back up. So here's when it gets bad for Bitcoin again, right? Well, if Bitcoin is going to go down by, say, let's see how far down it would be to get to our 69.5. Let's say if Bitcoin is going to go down by 21% or so, then what do I have to see on my MACD from the daily chart? Well, I have to see the daily MACD like this, right? I have to see it turn down. What is it right now? It's turned up. So this is all good things. That's good, right? You can't say that this going up in price action, curling up, going past the center line, going back into a positive trend as of right now is a bad thing. That makes no sense. But in order to get down here, you know what has to happen? Well, you're going to see this most likely flush down for a couple of days, and you're going to see this confirm back down on the daily chart, right? So that would be potentially my thing to react to. Now, it's a daily chart. It's a pretty wide reaction. So you got to understand what's going on here and be like, hey, if this remains weaker, maybe on a 4-hour, if the 4-hour crosses down, is that too much for me, too much risk for me to keep holding? You know, that's when it comes down to your decision making. Yeah, so there's just too many variables. There's too many different things that could happen here for us to be like, this is exactly what's going to, or this is the highest probable thing at this moment for this stock. No, it's there. It's very simple. It's like, hey, if we curl down today, then 516.78 makes sense. If we keep heading down, then I'd be paying attention to this wick right here around 509 pretty carefully, 509.50. And if we're going to keep heading down, well, then we have weekly and monthly second standard deviation moves, right? There's too many variables out there. The 4-hour hasn't even crossed yet, even though it's crossing on the RSI and the price action. So that might be too worrisome. Or too, did you say in your plan, hey, if I get 2 forms of confirmation, then I'm out? Well, then potentially you should already be out at, you know, these levels up here towards 526.04. But we'll see. The market can do whatever the market wants to do, and then my job is to react. I could tweet and save the SPY, but you have to beg me first. I don't beg. I do not beg other human beings. Okay, well, maybe my wife sometimes, but That's a different topic. So Toronto, did you get that? It's just if Bitcoin's doing good things. That's it. Doing good things. If it starts to do bad things and the good things start to go wrong, then reaction could be necessary. Bounce coming in, no inclination of a bounce yet. I mean, look how beat up your 5 minute is even. Like really, if this bounces and sees some kind of ripping roar, look for news. If this is going to get some kind of rip here, there is no inclination of that happening. There is no inclination. So if there's no inclination of a bounce happening, a bounce is still possible. A bounce is always possible. But is it a trade? Potentially not, right? Is this a risk to reward play that some people, some day traders are probably going to take to get back into that 516.78? I assume so. Is this downward move making people take very bearish bets while the 5 minute is super deep and while the 30 minute is going into the oversold areas? Yes. Is that a good decision? The hell did I just hear beg? Someone told me to beg, and I'm like, nah. No thanks. I don't need a tweet. I don't even care about the meme tweets, the Roaring Kitty tweets. I just thought they were entertaining. I cared that there was a divergence before Roaring Kitty tweeted the first time last year around this time, and then I wish I was in it at that time, but I wasn't paying attention. No, right? We are outside of our 68% zone to the downside. Is that a great time for me to start a short position? Or was the great time to start a short position maybe here? When I had two forms of confirmation, price action, RSI. Now, we're going too deep right now. I don't think we want to be going this deep, but the Qs are still holding it. But I don't think they're holding it on the MACD anymore. Ooh, it's getting close. It's getting very close. Here's an idea. Assuming Trump is just moving markets up and down, he needs good and bad news every alternate day. So if threatening, no, it's bad. It's bad for him either way. If the market's going down, it's not good for Donald Trump. I want you to just take into consideration midterms. It's probably very difficult to win midterms if the market crashes here, which means everything that he wants to accomplish is going to get even harder, and he's already heavily criticized and heavily clamped down on. So it's not a good thing. So Trump does not want good and bad news. Trump wants to finally give some really good news, I think, and he's willing to go through the pain to get really good news. But there's a potential for that good news never to come in. But if you take into consideration midterms, there's no way Trump wants the stock market going down. There's no way he wants that his whole United States, the people that he is working for, the people who voted him in, there's no way he wants to decrease their 401k by half and then be like, vote for me. It's not going to play out very well. Oh, you mean Trump, if he's swinging it back and forth to make some money. I'd say just people are probably still holding from the election day. I would say he knows what he's doing. It's just a very complex situation. Thank you for the evening videos. China agreement equals 30% bounce. Don't be fooled. Exactly. If China would back off, but I heard China's still trying to retaliate more, even so now for it. So we have more time then. Yeah, well, you know, you guys, as far as bankrupting the country, what are we, $40 trillion in debt or something? When does when do we go bankrupt, you know? What number exactly? How much debt, you know? Or West Taiwan, sorry. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, we're going bankrupt. All right. 10 trillion, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You guys, these are just made up numbers at this point. We're just bankruptcy for the United States. I think it's definitely a possibility, but no, just, maybe become friends with Jerome Powell again and be like, hey man, can we get some money? Don't get Willow started on the Federal Reserve, Fred. Willow. Don't get caught up in irrational fear. Hey, I just look for if my signals are there. I see something pretty good from Meta still. I chose to risk to reward that bad boy over the weekend, remember? I'm down on Meta right now, for sure. I chose to risk to reward Amazon and Meta. Ooh, I'm down on those right now. Do you hear a bunch of panic in my voice? You heard a bunch of panic in my voice. Do you know what that means? With those trades? If I had a bunch of panic in my voice towards Amazon and Meta, do you know what that means? That means that I probably risked an amount of money that I'm not comfortable with. And that usually is a good sign that I'm not doing the management of my position size very well. So if you're freaking out right now because you have something that's negative, well, then you probably put on too much money. Sometimes it comes down to as simple as that. I don't like that either, Suri. I really don't. But here's the other thing too. I'm not critical of how someone else is treating someone else. I mean, obviously on a humane level, I will be, but I don't know why he would be talking to him like that. Is it just for selfish reasons? Is it not? Well, I would say with Donald Trump, it's high potential that it's for selfish reasons, right? So as far as I'm not terribly into politics either, I just try to come with a common sense angle and say, if he's talking to him like that, either he's really wanting something and being a douche, or he knows more about Jerome Powell than we do. But as what I see, I don't think Jerome Powell's the worst guy in the world. So I would say Trump's maybe being a douche to get his way. Option one, Embro. Child. But is what it is. Exactly, Jim. We just don't know enough. Is he really treating him? If that is treating someone as inhumane, that's a pretty high standard for humane, is what I would say. HEB just coming out and being like, "We'll go up shortly." Let's go, HEB. I wish you luck, buddy. Yeah, Dave, that's actually a very good point too. Oh, well, there's a reason that I have Jerome Powell as a clown on mine. I have my own opinions, but I'm trying to talk from an unbiased standpoint. I do not know him personally, but I don't think he's being treated inhumanely. Saying, I don't like how you're doing things, so I'm going to fire you, is that really the most inhumane thing possible? But once again, we're looking for good things. Does anyone see good things out there? Anyone seeing something interesting? I like it, Tina. Tina, I think you're pointing out the facts of right now. I would talk about Meta for a second. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I want to talk about Meta. Maybe we'll watch this for a little bit together. Maybe we'll watch this later on Rumble and see if this has provided anything. Meta's our hint. We hope that Meta continues to be a hint. Meta's holding. Now, is this a flag on the 5-minute to head down lower? Possibly. It's a big drop. Yeah, I think a lot of people were targeting, I think we said, what, 3,400 to 3,600? But man, that thing's booming, right, Oscar? All the versions on SMH. What time frame are you looking at, Monumental? Oh yeah, there it is, 30-minute. It's on AMD as well. It's on Meta here, if we can hold it, right? We still need to see it confirm. And then AMD holding it. We need to see if that can confirm. NVIDIA giving it up a little bit. Actually, oh, NVIDIA has it too. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA has it too. NVIDIA has it on the MACD and RSI. If we confirm here for NVIDIA, that's saying the 2 hour can see a nice move here. It's a little bit negative. AMD a little bit negative. Meta a lot negative, but has divergence. So yeah, you're correct to point these things out. Thanks for pointing it out. I'm feeling very bouncy in 30 minutes or in 20 minutes. What, did you just drink a cup of coffee? It takes about, 20 minutes or so to hit you. Wifey's down here if you guys want to say hi. I do have to hop off, guys. I'll have to hop off. But I would be paying attention to Meta. I'd be paying attention to NVIDIA. I'd be paying attention to AMD. These look like some great little hints in here. Maybe even looking at SMH to get more of a look there. As the SPY has violated critical levels, this is going to be a problem. The Qs overall still holding those divergences, so that's very good. So maybe the Qs, Meta, something like NVIDIA, AMD, those can be good hints for the day. If those start to go wrong, then we're looking for those lower weekly expected moves. But I do have to hop off, guys. I wish you nothing but love and probably some luck for the day. Hopefully you guys had a good one out there today, and hopefully you are managing your risk correctly and trying to do your best to trade like water and try to survive the game, right? Make sure we're following that plan and following the plan even if it does go wrong, all right? Following the plan if it goes wrong. As of right now, volatility kicking in just a little bit. Remember to pay attention for the crash signals, right? Daily has to confirm down. That's when it becomes more probable. Daily for volatility confirms up. That's where it becomes more probable. And if that is too much risk for you to assume, then it might be a time to react. So thank you guys for being here today. I hope you guys have a great one. And I will see you on Rumble later on this afternoon, right, for the closing stream. If you would like to join us, I believe I still have the link in the description. Maybe someone could clarify that for me as we're about to hop off. But thank you guys for being here today. I hope you had a great Easter. I hope you had a great weekend with your family. And I hope that we can continue to try our best to make better decisions, always trying to improve, right? There's no problem in always trying to improve with our decision making. And thank you, Richard, for clarifying and a couple others. Have a great day. Peace out.